It's kind of fun. On one side you have coffee people, the other side you have green tea people, and it's like they like to fight each other. Which one is better and which one is worse? And they all pick on each other. And when it comes down to longevity and looking at the research, we have to look at large observational data. I love mechanisms, I really do, but when it comes down to lifespan, longevity, we can't lean on mechanistic stuff, okay? So let's look at observational data on what is better, green tea or coffee, because surprisingly, they're eerily close in terms of the benefits, but we have to understand some of the nuance so that we can start to extrapolate some hypothetical reasons as to why, so that we can figure out what's best for us. After today's video, check out Thrive Market. I don't care if you like coffee or green tea, they have options for both. So you can save 30% off your entire grocery order through Thrive Market. Or if you don't like coffee or tea at all, there's a million other things. But the whole point is making it so you don't have to go to the grocery store. And a lot of the items there are cheaper through Thrive than they are at the grocery store, not to mention how much you're probably spending in gas right now. So big thank you to them for their support on this channel, and that link down below saves you 30% off your grocery order plus a $50 free gift. Down below in the description in the top line. Let's first look at a study published in JAMA on green tea. 11-year study taking a look at 40,000 Japanese people. They found that those that consumed 5 or more cups of green tea per day had significantly lower risk of all-cause mortality. For all-cause mortality, it was 23% reduction for women and a 12% reduction for men. Now this means throughout all risks of death, throughout all kinds of different continuums, this was the overall risk. So almost 25% for women. Okay, then when we look at cardiovascular disease risk, there was a huge benefit directly in that specific silo too. 31% for women and 22% for men. But then going further down the line, another huge cause of death, stroke. And there was a big reduction in stroke risk, 42% for women, 35% reduction for men. I want to get one thing out in the open first. We see in a lot of this observational research that women tend to respond better to things than men, okay? Much of the conclusion behind that, or the theory, is that women are smaller, okay, and that means less overall just weight and mass, and just from a simple energy dynamics standpoint, there's less overall turnover, and that might be why women live longer in the first place. Maybe they're smaller. Other theories are menstruation actually changed things, where how much they're dumping in the way of potential oxidative stressors, how much they're dumping in the way of iron, which actually might be a problem if you have a buildup of iron. I'm not an expert in that world, but I know that people are probably wondering if they're curious-minded. Anyhow, putting that aside, what the heck is going on? Why is green tea so advantageous for longevity? Much of it has to do with the simple polyphenols, right? We can really lean in this a lot. On one hand, polyphenols, antioxidants are great, but on the other hand, shouldn't we be getting our antioxidants endogenously from stress and fasting and working out? Yes and yes, right? They both are good. And usually where antioxidants come into benefit is with older people or people that might have some dysregulation in their ability to produce endogenous antioxidants. And there's no real way for you to know that. You don't always know if something is inherently wrong at that level, right? So having a little bit of green tea could help. Now, another interesting theory, and there was another study that took a look at over 40,000 Japanese individuals, found that people that consume green tea, or 5+ cups a day, again, have lower levels of distress in their lives. And we're talking like 20% less stress. So we do have to factor this in too, right? The theanine that's in green tea seems to have powerful, powerful effects at stress modulation. And I hate to sound cliche because that's everything I don't want this channel to be, but stress is a huge driver of ROS, reactive oxygen species, and just damage, DNA damage within the body, okay? Whether it's too much physical stress or too much mental stress or whatever. So maybe that's where things are kind of going with this. Now, what else is interesting surrounding green tea is there's physical benefits that come with it. And when you look at different scales in the way we measure biometrics and aging and biological clocks, one of the emerging ways to look at a biological clock is actually the skin wrinkles near the eyes. So there is actually up and coming research being poured into this where they can actually algorithmically look at your face and tell your biological age compared to your chronological age based upon wrinkles near your eyes. Why am I mentioning this? Because there's some evidence that green tea stops collagen breakdown. Now it does this because it suppresses something called MMP3. Now MMP3, as we get older, accumulates and it encourages collagen degradation. Okay, we start to break down some of the collagen because we need amino acids going into the labral pool for whatever reason, because the ratio of muscle protein breakdown to synthesis changes as we age. If we support and maintain collagen in the skin, then that is in theory affecting our biological age. It's also preserving proteins. So although it may not have a metabolic impact on longevity that we can attribute directly to, we can say, oh, well, maybe you're maintaining collagen, the skin's doing better, maybe the tendons and ligaments are doing better, maybe you're less frail, you're able to remain active for long. We can get nuancy there. It's very interesting. So let's jump into coffee though, because this study looked at over 402,000 people over the course of 13 years. So it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and it found that once again, coffee was something that really helped with overall longevity. It helped when you look at all-cause mortality. There was significantly less risk of all-cause mortality in subjects that drank, hear this, 4 to 5 cups of coffee per day. Now with this, there was a 12% improvement or reduction in all-cause mortality for men and a 16% reduction for women. Still higher for women, not as high as green tea though. So what is going on here? Is coffee not as good as green tea? It's a give and a take, okay, because coffee has similar polyphenols that work on different directives than maybe the green tea does. So we could get, again, really granular with that, or we could look at larger scale stuff. One of the things that we've seen in rodent model studies is that coffee is a very potent and quick driver of autophagy. Okay, so autophagy is the cellular recycling. And this is like if you have your living room and it's totally full of boxes and stuff like that and you can't see the TV, well, imagine sort of autophagy as collapsing those boxes and folding them up so now you can see the TV, right? You're consolidating, you're getting rid of a lot of the useless matter and compressing it and using it even as fuel. So coffee drives this process, at least in mice. Now, full disclaimer, exercise is the most potent driver of autophagy. So I don't think you should sit here worrying about counting your autophagic flux and counting the foods that trigger autophagy when you could just go out and run for 30 minutes. But during the time that you're not exercising, this is important. Now, what's wild is there is a study that was published in the journal Cell Cycle that found that both decaf and regular caffeinated coffee have very similar effects when it comes down to autophagy. Now, there's not enough observational data to say, okay, 400,000 people that only drank decaf had the same effects as 400,000 people that only drank caffeinated coffee. But we can sort of theorize that maybe the reduction in benefit from coffee versus green tea has to do with the high amounts of caffeine, because 4 or 5 cups of coffee is going to be a lot of caffeine, and that could start to impact sleep, and that could definitely impact longevity scores. But one of the most important things, I hope you're still in this video, is the inhibition of mTOR with coffee. I haven't seen any studies that demonstrate that green tea inhibits mTOR. Okay, so coffee being an mTOR inhibitor means that it is stopping the growth cycle. Sounds bad at first, but when you look at almost all the longevity research, it all points towards attenuation of mTOR, or less mTOR equals longer living. But there's also a downside to that. Where is the balance? Because you want to have enough mTOR to stimulate muscle growth, because more muscle means more ability to store glucose, to deal with nutrients, and to not be overweight. But at the same time, if you're not sort of blocking mTOR now and then, it's not going to do you a lot of good. So here's my suggestion for that. When you are not eating and you are really trying to drive autophagy, maybe when you're fasting or just purely not eating, that's the time to drink coffee. When you are eating meals and things like that, you're already spiking mTOR, so no sense in drinking coffee that can blunt mTOR at that point. You might as well ride that mTOR wave the best that you can for consolidation and growth, but not really blunt it with coffee. So at the end of the day, if you ask me based on observational data, I think green tea is marginally better. Okay, and I don't think that comes as any crazy surprise, but the data is just a little more concrete with the polyphenols, the theanine, and the lower caffeine content. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.